Alright, so it's finally the end of my first semester of Zoom High School, but instead of being happy that it's finally over, I am just mentally crushed. I am so worried that I just ruined my life. That is because this year I received some of the worst grades I have ever received in my high school career. However, when I first learned that we'd be doing school online instead of in person, I was ecstatic. I was happy because I thought that this was the year that I would be getting the best grades ever. This is because I've spent most of my time on the computer. I've just grown up on the computer, so I assumed that I would be getting the most done, the most productive. However, after a single semester of online school, I realized that it won't be that simple, and that it wasn't the case. Instead of becoming a productive madman, I turned into a slobby waste man. I believe that the reason behind my laziness is because of the online school. However, I found a fix to this that we could all incorporate. So in school, there is like this rigid structure that, as a student, I and every other student succumbs to. You have set class periods in the day, and then you have certain classrooms where you attend set class periods, and then you're generally forced to attend these classes. However, despite the apparent annoyance that I might have towards this structured lifestyle, it forced me to get things done without much thought. In math class, I just did math work, and in science class, I did science work. It was all really simple and easy. And most days, I didn't have much annoyance towards doing this work. It was just something that I did. Showing up and doing the work was easy because of the structure of school. Now, compare this to online school. Although there are periods of time where you're supposed to be doing your classwork, it is much easier to not do what you're supposed to do. And I think that is the case for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's because of a lack of authoritative figure. You're used to having a teacher stare down your back, making sure you do the work. You have accountability through your teacher. And there's a difference from a teacher being there physically and being there over across the screen. It's a different feeling. Secondly, there are so much things that are trying to take your time and your attention away when you're at home. You have notifications from your phone that are stealing your time. You got siblings who might need help with their classwork. And you have chores that your parents might make you do even when you're in class. All these things make it harder to stay focused during online school. And due to this, I wasn't as focused as I usually was during school. Instead of getting the work done during class, I would sacrifice my sleep in order to get the work done much later in the day. Because of this, I rushed, and my understanding of the classwork and just my grade in general dropped. So I was stuck there, sitting in this chair, thinking about the failure of my schoolwork. And my failure of my school reminded me of my failures in my personal life. For example, I've always wanted to become a YouTuber, although I always just had a way of stop posting and stop being consistent. Another would be me wanting to learn an instrument. I would buy the instrument, practice a lot for the first couple weeks, and then I just stop for some reason. And so I realized that all these failures had something in common, a lack of consistency. So if I wanted to be more successful, I realized that I have to find a way to keep going even though I don't want to. And when I don't have the motivation, I need to start being more consistent. Although this might seem easy, for me, this is not the case. I have a tendency to start new projects and ideas and goals with a lot of enthusiasm, but as a couple weeks would go by, I would lose that enthusiasm and quit. However, oddly enough, there was this place where I would stay consistent even though I wouldn't think I would. I would stay consistent despite me not really wanting to do the work, and that is school. Every weekday while we were in physical school, I would show up to school, go to my classes, and do the work. How come I stayed consistent with something that I didn't really even like? I believe that the reason is because of the structure of school, and I think that I can incorporate this structure into my personal life so I could achieve the goals that I want to achieve. What I needed for my personal goals was a routine. A routine is a planned out, systematic way to go through certain steps in order to reach a goal or an objective. Since messing up my first semester of my senior year, I have made 2 routines, one of them being focused towards my running and fitness goals. My fitness goal currently right now is that I want to be able to run a 400 meter or one lap on the track in under 50 seconds. In order to do that, I need to do these workouts consistently so then I'll improve and get better and eventually reach my goal. However, thinking of these workouts can be hard, so instead of that, I decided to write down a week's worth of workouts and put them in my notes app, so every day I just have to look at my notes app and see what I need to do for the day. By not having to every single day think about how you're going to reach a goal, it makes it easier to stay consistent. So I'm going to explain my process of how I made my routine in hopes that it might provide a little bit more clarity on how you might be able to make yours. So the first step that I did was some research. So during the beginning of this, I wasn't really quite sure of what workouts that I should be doing. However, there's this crazy thing called the internet where we're able to look up pretty much anything we want. So I looked at a 400 meter college workout plan and adapted it to my skill level and what I think that I could achieve. Another example would be if you want to read more, think about how much books you want to read and how much time you're going to give yourself to read each book. Then just make a small list of the books that you'll want to read first. My intuition tells me that having an idea of how you're going to be consistent will help you be consistent. The next step would be to take all this information that you gathered and make it into this thing we call a routine. You have to make decisions on how often you want to do your routine and how long each routine step will take. However, when I made my routine, I made sure to make the barrier of entry really small. I just made sure that every single step was as simple as it can get, so I wouldn't have any excuses of not trying to work towards my goal. If I made the routine take half of my day each day, I believe that I wouldn't stay consistent as I would just be overwhelmed and I would just end up quitting. I had to make sure I gave myself no excuses for not trying to work towards my goal every day. Also, what I did was I made my running routine very versatile. To explain, most of these track workouts, they have you do a certain distance, as in like maybe 200 meters, and you do intervals of that. Although I didn't always have access to a track, and if I didn't have access to a track, I would end up not working towards my goal. So I tried making my routine a little bit more versatile by instead of having me run intervals of a distance, I did intervals of a time. I don't need a track in order to run, let's say, 40-second sprinting. I could do that anywhere as long as I have my running shoes and a flat plot of land. Again, I try to make my routine as simple and versatile as possible for giving myself no excuses for giving up. I try to make it as easy as possible, at least in the beginning. Alright, so now you have your cute little routine, but here comes the not so cute part, which is sticking with it. For me, this is one of the most difficult parts because, like I said earlier, I get a lot of enthusiasm in the beginning of starting like a new project or thinking towards a new goal. But as the weeks start to dwindle by, so does my motivation, and I usually end up just quitting. I'm starting to realize that with anything difficult, my motivation will inevitably dwindle because it's discomfortable, and we just want to be comfortable. I know that there will be days where running is the last thing I'll want to do. In order to reach my goals of running, I need to keep running even though I don't want to run on certain days. I need to be consistent and stick to my routine in order to achieve my goals. So with that being said, it might be a little contradictory what I'm about to say, but you need to know that it's okay to miss a day. Like for example, right now I'm missing a week of my video posting routine because I haven't posted in the last 2 weeks. But I understand that continuing after I fail a routine or miss a day I'm going to be making so much more progress than if I would have just missed the day and then quit. Although missing a day or week is not optimal, it is so much better than just quitting for the long run. I need to be okay with failing and learning from that and being able to readjust my routine and build from there. Your routine is this living document which you could alter as your living situations alter as well. Although with that all being said, if you haven't even started towards your goal and you're staying stagnant, I have one thing to say, and it's this one sentence: just start. If you're feeling paralyzed due to overthinking, just start. This is also an issue of mine where I start to think about the most optimal way to reach a goal instead of just trying to reach the goal in the first place. The truth is that if you haven't even started towards your goal, there's no point of over-planning things because you're making no progress by over-planning it. Just start doing and then optimize and streamline it later. Alright, so before I go, I just want to say this one thing that I read in a book. Many times when you're chasing after a goal that places you in this realm of discomfort, you'll have this one question pop up in your head. It's this one word statement. Why? Why are you placing yourself in this discomfort? If you don't have an answer to this question could eat at you and will make you quit. It'll creep in your mind and convince you to stop being uncomfortable and just start living a life of comfortability. However, in order to neutralize this, there's another statement that you could be asking yourself. It's this another short 2-word statement. What if? What if I keep running? What if I keep reading? What will happen if I continue and try to pursue these goals? What if is the question that neutralizes the why. What if is the question that I'd rather ask myself now, looking into the future, instead of on my deathbed looking into the past. What if? See you guys next time.